各位觀眾，大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。早前一宗涉及卑詩省Cowichan原住民部族嘅歷史土地裁決，喺列治文掀起巨大嘅迴響。判決指部分屬於私人擁有嘅土地，或者屬於Cowichan原住民部族嘅所有權。消息一出啦，唔少居民對於自己嘅業權都感到不安。喺第一節，我哋就會走入受影響嘅社區，睇睇居民點樣面對呢一場突如其來嘅土地爭議。
The thing is, in regards to this court hearing, we are owners of this land and we were never told anything about it. And I'm hearing that the judge said they didn't want any of the private owners involved.
我们买的房子，我们买的地，就是向政府买的。现在原住民出来突然提出这种问题，作为政府还要作为的。
I want to make it very clear that those people that own their property, they still have title to their property. They still have a registered title to property right now, and that hasn't changed. The way you transfer property, the way all that stuff, none of that has changed.
Cowichan Nation is not asking for your individual land. That is not what they've requested in their litigation, and that's not what the judge granted. The judge said that the individual fee simple title is intact.
Cowichan原住民族土地裁決突如其來，資訊卻未能夠及時傳達。喺毫不知情之下，列治文居民可以點樣得到清晰嘅答案呢？
I'm a part owner with my cousins and my uncle on a cranberry bog that's at the back of this property. And I've owned it with them for 20 years. We farmed cranberries for 12 years and weren't able to make a go of it. And we're trying to farm conventional farming on it. And we're trying to do that. And it's been tough because it's a mined out peat bog. This whole area has been mined out in the 50s, 60s. It's about 1 square mile worth of mined out, about 1.5 meters peat taken away. So we've struggled with water table issues with farming that land.
Cowichan嘅農場位於列治文6號路，佔地大約20英畝。佢嘅農場正位於卑詩最高法院喺今年8月判決授予Cowichan原住民所有權近800英畝土地範圍之內。佢話自己同太太喺法院判決之前對呢件事毫不知情。亦都認為省市兩級政府喺成件事中採取保密嘅態度係唔可以接受。
The thing is, in regards to this court hearing, we are owners of this land and we were never told anything about it. And I'm hearing that the judge said they didn't want any of the private owners involved in this. This was supposed to be between the federal government, provincial governments, the City of Richmond, Port of Vancouver. That's wrong. We are directly affected by this. We should have been involved. There would have been more voices to be heard, more lawyers involved, and I get the impression that the judge didn't want any chaos down there. My wife was talking to me about this and said, why did they keep it so private? Why did we just find out now?
未傳又話，作為一個土地嘅擁有人，固然會擔心呢塊土地係咪仍然屬於自己。同時佢都希望無論係省府或者市府都應該要有人解釋土地係點樣劃分，等居民可以攞到更加多嘅資訊。
We're asking governments to be more transparent. This was backdoor dealing, and we're just vehemently opposed to the process. We should have been there at the table with the rest of the federal government and provincial government. So that's all we have to say. We're not being treated fairly, and yes, the Indians have a claim, but I don't know. I just wonder, where did this boundary come up? Like, how did they determine the boundary that is to be Aboriginal title? We don't know. I suppose it's in an 800-page report. But I think they're asking for more than this portion, but this portion maybe should be up for dispute.
Cowichan並非個別例子，喺呢一塊800英畝嘅土地上，大約有45個私人業主擁有物業。另外，Cowichan民族對附近額外1000英畝土地提出嘅上訴，將可能會影響額外大概100人。為咗向各級政府表達居民對事件嘅關注，有列治文民眾就自發舉行集會，有超過100人到場支持並且發聲。
因為 对于我们来说啊，我们最担心的呢，就是说我们自己合法的产权是不是有一天呢会变成不是我们的，这是我们所担心的事情。那因为这个判决呢，在加拿大史上也是第一次，很多地方其实都很不了解。就是说我在这个 weekend 的时候，我有去那边敲门，然后就是问他们说知不知道这些事情啊。然后呢，他们对于说的判决的细节内容什么的，都其实不清楚。
这种情况吧，已经100多年了，已经形成的情况，是吧？我们买的房子，我们买的地，就是向政府买的。现在原住民出来，突然提出这种问题，作为政府还要作为的，是不是啊？省政府也好，是联邦政府也好，对这个问题要有一个公正的态度，要保护业主的利益，不能原住民说啥就是啥，对吧？是吧？你一定要維護全體加拿大國民的利益。
除咗受影響嘅居民之外，有喺列治文居住多年並且已經置業嘅居民都表示對今次發生嘅事情感到意外。
都好突然咯，即係我諗住呢啲嘢應該咁多年應該解決晒㗎啦，起碼。就算你都係好細微嘅調整啫，你唔係 fundamentally 要 override 成件事啊嘛。咁呢個係好 surprise 嘅，即係原來呢個地方咁多年大家都時時但但、蒙蒙查查咁樣，有啲 surprise 係啊。
咁我都同阿老友嘅意見好接近啦。現實講，我哋以往買嗰個 title 同而家話改變，大家都唔清唔楚咁，究竟搞到幾時呢？
今次具爭議嘅土地範圍屬於卑詩保守黨省議員 Steve Cooner 所屬嘅列治文 Queensborough 選區範圍之內。佢話自己收到好多選民求助，擔心自己已經居住多年嘅房屋可能會受到影響。
If you find somebody that's affected, they'll tell you that they are concerned and they are worried. It's something to worry about. Like, you know, their savings are invested in these properties. And some of these properties are worth a lot of money and some are worth less. But you can just imagine if somebody invested their life savings. For most people, their biggest investment is their home. And then, so you can imagine if there's a land claim or there's a Aboriginal title now on their property, they're worried, right?
一直關心呢宗案件嘅列治文市議員 Alessa Lulu 先榮都話收到唔少求助個案，大部分求助者都喺物業按揭同貸款遇到困難，正係面對極大嘅不確定性。
I've heard from landowners, business owners, lawyers, and realtors like Adam Wachtel here. They're all concerned about the effect on property values, the effect on the ability to remortgage, the effect on the ability to get insurance, and just the uncertainty involved around it. And while everyone has appealed the decision, including the Cowichan, the result is enormous uncertainty. And that uncertainty is bound to create financial impact that could devastate homeowners and businesses. And some people are looking at their mortgages coming due and finding out that they cannot obtain title insurance. Without title insurance, how can you go to the bank and renew or obtain a new mortgage? I don't know anyone who would buy property in the zone unless it was at a steep discount. And the only people who will be able to sell will have to sell at a huge loss to the vultures that are circling.
有地產經紀就話，法院嘅判決對樓市的確帶嚟不確定性，不過目前難以完全估計樓價嘅走勢，提醒業主暫時唔好過於擔憂。
Right now, there hasn't been per se a direct effect. It's more just the uncertainty that the whole claim is taking on into the market. We don't know if land values are going to drop. We don't know if they're going to stay the same. People have fear of what's going to happen. It's quite reasonable, but we cannot get too far ahead of ourselves. There is a process in place. We have to remember that we have to allow that process to take place, and then we can see what happens.
Wachtel 又話：以目前情況嚟講，金融機構喺審批按揭同貸款嘅時候，無疑會較為審慎。市民做決定嘅時候應該尋求專業意見。
It makes sense that that they would show hesitation in financing. If you cannot properly value an asset, how do you lend against it?
今次卑詩最高法院嘅判決牽連甚廣，3級政府都已經提出上訴， 而呢一宗案件一旦成為案例，省內其他地區例如高貴臨港、Kamloops 等城市都可能面對同類情況。
95% of BC's land has land claims on it. So whether all of them will be successful or not, that's a different issue. But what's happened here with the Cowichan case and this Supreme Court decision of BC decision is it sets a precedent for the rest of the province because the Supreme Court of BC's jurisdiction is in the entire province. That jurisdiction is in the entire province. So the decision in this case will apply to other cases. So what that means is it sets a precedent. This case sets a precedent that private property might be in jeopardy in other parts of the province as well.
我相信會嘅，不過時間啫，即係遲早都會一路 extend 出去嘅嚇，即係唔係淨係呢個區嘅，一定係因為係案例嚟㗎嘛。咁有案例就個地方都 extend 出去嘅。
冇錯啊！如果遇到呢啲問題，我相信都唔會淨係針對葉志文嘅，其他地方又點會唔牽涉呢？
其實 BC 95% 嘅地都有呢個問題，即係原來可以 coexist 個 exclusive， 咁呢樣嘢好奇怪嘅呢個。係啊。
以前唔擔心嘅，因為未有案例啊嘛。而家判咗之後，點會唔擔心呢？因為有案例啊嘛。
對於呢啲居民嚟講啊，家園係承載住家庭回憶同生活根基嘅地方。但係面對資訊不足嘅情況之下，各級政府又可以點樣做去解決佢哋嘅憂慮呢？我哋下一節翻嚟再睇。歡迎翻嚟節目時間。面對Cowichan土地裁決嘅爭議啊，有居民就擔心私人產權或者會被取締，亦都有人擔心啊，此案會否為全省其他原住民土地爭議帶嚟咗示範效應？咁究竟私人土地會否受到影響？省府又有啲乜嘢嘅方法去處理同原住民之間嘅問題呢？
今次嘅土地所有權爭議源於2014年，包括Cowichan等原住民部族及其後裔提出訴訟，尋求確認列治文市大約1846英畝，即係747公頃土地嘅原住民所有權。訴訟涉及嘅土地包括聯邦政府、卑詩省府、列治文市府、溫哥華菲沙港口局同私人持有土地。聆訊由2019年開始，直到今年8月，卑詩最高法院承認Cowichan原住民部族對列治文東南部近800英畝，即係324公頃土地享有原住民所有權。溫哥華都 Sherman 地區嘅賴厄臣原住民部族酋長，同時係卑詩第一民族領袖委員會當選代表 Shana Thomas 話：今次嘅判決對原住民部族有重大意義。
I think the greatest significance of this case is it's acknowledged what First Nations people in British Columbia have been saying to the government for a very long time, which is they must negotiate agreements with First Nations and they cannot rely on the notion of private property in an area where First Nations have title, so that they can't use that as a shield to tell First Nations people to be we've already allocated this land, and therefore there's nothing you can do about it. So the greatest significance of this case is to say, wait a minute, British Columbia, you don't have that authority to displace Aboriginal title, and yes, you must negotiate.
卑詩律政廳長利莎瑪接受本台訪問嘅時候話，省府唔同意最高法院今次嘅判決，亦都係第一個表明會提出上訴嘅政府。而省府都會喺保障省民嘅前提之下同原住民和解。
Under the Constitution of Canada, we understand that there's a title of First Nations and the rights of First Nations are important for the Crown to reconcile, to sit down with our First Nations partners and resolve these issues that are very complicated and historic and resulted in a lot of really terrible parts of our history. And we need to find a path forward that respects private property owners in that context. We think, and we've shown in our work that can happen. And we, for example, had made an agreement with the Haida that respects private property, but also acknowledges the wrong of the past and helps support the reconciliation efforts with Haida.
本身擔任卑詩保守黨律政事務評論員嘅 Steve Cooner 就希望省府可以向加拿大最高法院尋求法律指引。
This appeal process might take 5 to 8 years. So something that the official opposition has been calling for is that the Attorney General or this government, this provincial government, should should try to get a reference question put to the Supreme Court of Canada now, and get the question put whether Aboriginal title can defeat private property rights. And we know that we need to know the answer now.
今次土地所有權爭議其中一個焦點係土地所有權究竟歸邊一個擁有，同時涉及私人產權同原住民所有權能唔能夠共存嘅問題。利沙馬話：省府保證居民可以保留自己嘅私人產權。
Yeah, I want to make it very clear that those people that own their property, they still have title to their property. They still have a registered title to property right now, and that hasn't changed. The way you transfer property, the way all that stuff, none of that has changed. What we're concerned about is any uncertainty related to that ruling. So whether it's like, for mortgage renewals or things like that, and we don't know if that's happening, but we are on the ground. Somebody's meeting with landowners, and if somebody's listening that's in that area and they're in this category, we need to know that. We need to know what the impacts are, because we are seeking a stay and appeal of the decision related to that. We're asking the court to undo that uncertainty that is happening right now on people's private properties.
Yeah, I think the way the legal system is constructed, there is a possibility for the coexistence of Aboriginal title with fee simple title. The issues that need to be resolved are the negotiations between the First Nation and the province of British Columbia. The Cowichan Nation did not seek to displace any of the private landowners. They were very strategic in their litigation. They went after land that was held by the Crown, land that was given to the town of Richmond due to the not paying of taxes. So those were the lands that they targeted. So I think to the residents of the town of Richmond, I would say Cowichan Nation is not asking for your individual land. That is not what they've requested in their litigation. And that's not what the judge granted. The judge said that the individual fee simple title is intact.
The land is owned by the federal government, the provincial government, the city of Richmond, and private landowners. To say that there's only the Crown parcels involved is simply inaccurate. There are a great number of private residences that are involved here. How would you like to own one of those private residences where you own it, you're the registered legal owner of it, and all of a sudden you have to deal with this concept called Aboriginal title?
至於另一個焦點係喺歷時500幾日嘅聆訊過程中，未有居民收到相關訴訟嘅通知，直至列治文市府喺今年10月向受影響居民發信，通知佢哋居住嘅地段已經被納入原住民所有權範圍之內，或者影響佢哋嘅業權。而市府都舉辦一場諮詢會解答居民嘅疑問。
We had the ruling in August. People don't know about it, and people certainly don't know the implications of it if they've heard about it. So what we wanted to do is to have a meeting to say, for the interested public, especially the people directly affected, how did we get here? What does it mean? What is the situation, and what is the situation going forward? So with people not knowing about probably the most important investment that they will ever have, which is their home and their business, they need to know the situation.
不過部分居民對市府未有及時通知市民嘅做法感到不滿，更加將矛頭直指市長馬保定同市府。
No one was informed about this process while it was going on for 5 years. Clearly, your people here knew about it. I'm going to assume you knew about it. Our MLAs probably had an idea about it. There's lots of people in the system here that knew about it, and no one let us know about it. That's not right.
You guys knew what was going on with this court battle and stuff. Why did you guys not reach out to us? I'm asking you. You're the mayor. You're supposed to know everything that's going on in Richmond. I pay my taxes to you. Why did you not reach out to us? Why did you not send a letter? You send me a letter telling me there's going to be a hearing at City Hall, okay, with no real details. It's supposed to be information. Tonight, I've gotten zero information aside from what's on this little piece of paper, which is on the website already. So why didn't you reach out to us earlier?
馬保定回應話：明白居民嘅擔憂，亦都認為居民絕對有理由感到憤怒。不過佢覺得呢一個並非市府嘅責任，而係應該由省府同聯邦政府嚟解決。
City of Richmond argued that when the Land Title Act talking about indefeasible title was brought in British Columbia, that extinguished any idea or any notion of Aboriginal claims, Aboriginal title. They were then off, they were off the table, and there couldn't be any. The province did not argue that. The federal government did originally make that claim and then withdrew it.
The role of the provincial government is to engage in land treaties. If this is a treaty negotiation, then they should be doing it. The judgment from the judge, from Justice Young, was that the provincial and federal governments need to negotiate with the Cowichan. So that's their job. That's what they've been told to do by the courts, and that's what they've created themselves through the process of treaties, reconciliation, and repatriation of land, or by either way of money or land transfer.
李生馬解釋，省府係基於法院嘅指引，而未有對外向居民公佈呢一宗案件。佢都表示，省府已經同Cowichan原住民部族會面，尋求解決方案，而同原住民部族合作都會為省內帶嚟機遇。
Each fact and each case is very different. They're all very different. And they all come from a different history. They all have different evidentiary burdens. They all have different lands associated with it. And a lot of them through our modern treaties, or a big chunk of them, have been resolved through our negotiation of modern treaties or agreements that we've made with different First Nations. It's going to be a work in progress. Reconciliation is a work in progress, right? Every government is responsible for that, whether it's either through court actions or through modern treaties or agreements that we can come. And I also want to say, which I think is very important, is that the prosperity of all of British Columbians it can be achieved through these agreements. Sitting down with all parties and resolving the dispute can unlock economic opportunities. It can unlock jobs. And
when I look at the decision, it's really clear to me that the judge ordered that the private landowners, the individual private landowners' fee simple title is intact. It is the title to Canada and the title with the town of Richmond that has been determined invalid, and that's the stuff that's been ordered to be returned. For the individual fee simple landowners, nothing has been ordered to be returned. It's up to British Columbia to negotiate that with the Cowichan Nation, and that's what we're going to do.
私人產權同原住民所有權能唔能夠共存，仍然係未知之數。作為業主固然緊張自己耗盡積蓄購買嘅房屋產權係咪屬於自己，而對於原住民嚟講，可能都係想守護自己民族嘅權益同歷史文化。各級政府作為橋梁，可能需要承擔更多責任，解決兩者之間嘅矛盾。
What I'm hoping is going to come of all of this is a further recognition that we cannot simply ignore the rights and title of First Nations people. BC treaty process has been happening for 30 years in British Columbia, and it's time to get serious and want to conclude negotiations with First Nations. We can't just sit and talk and talk and talk. We have to get to remedies. We have to get to resolution. So I hope that at the end of the day, the final outcome of all of this work is that we recognize the need to engage in negotiations, conclude agreements that benefit everyone, not just one side of the table. And I hope that that's the outcome. And I hope that British Columbians have a better understanding of all of the history of this province and what's happened to First Nations people to displace them from their land.
The property was mined out. I don't think you're going to find any artifacts indicating that there was any land Indian on this land, other than the pictures that they talk about on the pictures that they talk about of the longhouses along the river. So again, there's a lot of shadiness going on. There should have been more. The property owners should have been involved in the litigation or defending ourselves.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。咁如果觀眾想上網重溫今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站，點擊節目重溫一欄。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。